It's YouTube week here on the Rubin Report, and my guest today is a musician, a YouTuber, and a jump cut enthusiast, Chris Raygun. Welcome to the Rubin Report.
Thanks for having me, man.
Jump cut enthusiast.
Yeah.
Are you going to be all right? Because we're going to be doing this. We don't jump cut. We don't even cut. There's no editing here.
Yeah.
Are you going to be all right?
I think I should be fine.
Yeah.
I got experience.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, like, live streams.
Live.
It's the same, right?
Yeah. Do you want to like bounce around the room a little bit? Because I know you jump cut people. You love, I'm far, now I'm close.
No,
or I shifted a little.
I am disappointed that I can't slide in from off camera.
Yeah.
But should be fine.
Okay. Well, most of our guests stay seated the entire time.
Gotcha.
But I know you've got a lot of nervous energy.
You don't have a guitar?
You could have brought your guitar.
That's a shame.
That's a damn shame. You didn't want to show off the skills.
What are you gonna do?
Just gonna talk. All right.
I guess so.
So we're doing a long form thing here. Out of all the YouTube people that we're doing, you're the only one that's live. Is that weird some way
It's incredibly strange.
To be live with someone is this idea is very kind of old school, isn't it?
It is very, it's super surreal being here because obviously I watch the show, I'm a fan of the show. So to be sitting here is really strange. I wouldn't say starstruck, but definitely confusion to the max.
Well, you're being added to a list of names which you should be alongside. Sam Harris, Chris Raygun.
That's world-renowned neuroscientists, and I make jump cuts. Perfect.
Yeah, he's cutting brains. You're cutting
video.
There you go. All right. So for the people that have no idea who you are, Chris Raygun. Do we want to even say your real name? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's Chris Ray Maldonado.
There you go. What do you do? What is it that you do? For people, we're going to link them to some stuff, but what is it that you do on this internet machine?
Oh, man. I make political commentary videos that focus on the regressive left, social justice warriors, but I do it in kind of a ADHD kind of jump cut, comedy-infused way. Mm-hmm. At least I think it's funny. Might be.
They're funny. Don't worry.
Cool.
Yeah. So you cover a lot of the topics that I focus on in a sort of long form way here, and I'm unpacking a lot of stuff with prose, and you're doing it in sort of a very easily digestible, very shareable way that the kids seem to like.
Yeah. Apparently over 150,000 people like somehow.
Yeah, all right. So that's what you do online. But before you were an online person, you were a person. You're a millennial.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means easily offended is what it means, right? That's what it means.
Was that offensive, even the way I said that? You're a millennial. Did that seem accusatory? No. Should I have issued a trigger warning or?
No, I'm proud of being a smart one, I think. At least I think I'm smart.
Yeah. But
no, I mean, the whole millennial thing is an interesting one. Because, I mean, obviously, I'm 22 years old. I grew up I was born in 1999. That was incorrect.
Yeah, wow. You just had your first error on your age. Yeah.
This is why I cut, because I don't know when I was born.
Yeah, we are not going to cut that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, 1993 was when I was born, so it's I grew up in the whole, I grew up before the internet was a thing. I grew up into the internet. I kind of learned how that worked. It was with new, fresh eyes. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, the definition millennial is kind of an abstract definition, I feel like. I don't know how to put it, really.
Right. Well, I guess depending on who you listen to, some people say millennial, and they mean sort of the spoiled, rich generation that got everything and is connected, and they're all walking around with iPhones and apps and blah, blah, blah. Or some people say, this is a generation that is really into helping other people and wants to do right by other man and woman, and regardless of cisgenderism or I don't want to offend anybody, but it really just depends which way you want to, who you listen to.
Yeah. I mean, some people use it as a pejorative. Other people, it's just the definition. It's just like, hey, you were born at this time. It doesn't. I don't think the word holds that much weight. It doesn't bother me when people say I am, because obviously I am. I'm not going to say I'm not a millennial.
Yeah. You just tried to age yourself into something younger than
I know.
That was weird.
I don't know what that was.
that was very weird.
Clerical error.
How can you describe as someone that now creates stuff on the internet, being someone that grew up on the internet? Because I remember growing up in a time before the internet, when we had to go outside to see people. And I remember I saw the internet, meaning pictures on a computer that were connected to something else. We had some sort of text thing when I was in high school, I guess, which I don't really remember that well. But I remember sophomore year of college, some guy in my dorm started screaming because he was on his computer and saw a Yankee logo. And it said the Yankees beat the Braves or something, or Yankees beat the Royals, I think it was, 3-2. And he's like, this is the internet, or you're thinking the World Wide Web. And I remember thinking, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
You thought the internet was ridiculous?
I just thought it was so stupid. Like, why would anyone care about this? And here we are.
Yeah, now it's a necessity, right?
Yeah, but you grew up on it, so there's something majorly different there in terms of our formative years.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around it. Like, my parents didn't let me do anything that wasn't typical of 80s children for a long time. Like, I grew up like hanging out with my friends at like a park and like playing stickball and all that. And then like all of a sudden, bam, Google. So that was kind of jarring. Mm-hmm. But I think it's kind of helped me adapt to change a lot better in a weird way.
Yeah. We played stickball too on Long Island, and it was like all we needed was literally a stick and a tennis ball. We were good to go for hours a day. Now it's like you got to have a phone, and you got to have like
you sign up for
watch,
the app.
and you got to have an app, and the stickball app, and that thing's no good. Yeah, so it's just a sort of it is what you make of it, I guess, is the answer, right? For all these kids that are growing up on this.
I mean, for some people, I think it can spoil them. I feel like they can like, oh, I have the world's collective wealth of knowledge at my fingertips, but like, you know, I remember before that, so I really kind of appreciate the privilege. I know it's a dirty word, but
yeah, we'll get into
proper
that
context.
I've got that word written down here. Don't worry about that.
Oh, good.
All right, so you make these videos. When did you sort of wake up to the ideas that you're talking about? Because I found out about you, I think it wasn't a tremendously long time ago. I think it was maybe 8 or 10 months. I saw your video that you did that was the parody of We Didn't Start the Fire, and you were talking about social justice warriors and the regressive left and free speech, all of the stuff that I love. There were I was in a clip of it, and I was like, oh, this guy obviously is great. He said something nice about me.
You and Gad said.
Yeah, Gad was in it. It was a clip, I think, from our first episode at Aura. Mm-hmm. When did you wake up to just that there was something going on here that you really wanted to talk about?
Ooh, man. I mean, the first inklings of it happened at your old network because I was a big fan of the Young Turks. I would watch all the time, and I think the first time I noticed it was during an interview that I believe Cenk had with Karen Strahan. Mm-hmm. And I remember that being just like, I am surprised that this is happening because it felt so fake. It felt like a sketch. Yeah.
So for the people that haven't seen that, I've seen it, or I've seen a clip, enough of it before I was about to vomit. But can you describe what happened?
So Karen Strahan, if you don't know, she's a men's rights activist, and she just had an interview with Cenk, and there was supposed to be a lovely sit down. And it ended with Cenk basically screaming, "Hey, if you're going to talk about it, if you're going to talk about, men's rights, why don't you go make me a sandwich?"
I believe it was a ham sandwich.
Oh, a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but that was surreal to watch. I was like, all right, well, this is going off the rails, but I'll keep watching. And then obviously the thing with Sam Harris happened, and Sam Harris is one of my heroes. I grew up looking into Sam Harris a lot, Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, Christopher Hitchens, who I sincerely miss. He would have had a field day.
I mean, every day.
He would have had a field day with this.
There is not a day that goes by that I don't think I wish Hitch and George Carlin were here.
Exactly.
Because we need them now more than ever to just lay out some fearless fact.
Exactly.
And not that I agreed with both of them on everything, but just somebody to fearlessly stake out their position and do it in a way that is clear and makes sense. We have so few people that do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were a fan of TYT. Then you saw the sort of what we now call the regressive left. You saw these ideas taking root. So what were some of the examples of how you saw those ideas? I guess telling a men's rights activist to make you a ham sandwich, I guess that's a pretty good one. But were there some other things going on that you felt either online or in the real world that were popping?
The big thing was obviously the Gamergate controversy, which was like a huge deal for me. Especially because, I'm a huge gamer. I'm a big fan of video games. I grew up around them pretty much constantly. It's like the one constant I can remember is video games.
Yeah. What was your first system?
NES.
NES was your first system. We were just talking about it, but so but NES was old at that point. It was,
I know we had a late. That's why I found the internet way late. Our household was kind of not exactly wealthy.
Right. That's funny. So you describe, even though you were born in '93, you described yourself as sort of a child of the '80s, and now I guess I have some proof because NES came out. It was '85. I remember playing Super Mario Brothers at my buddy John's for the first time.
But that was my jam.
That was
Yeah. But like,
what's the contra code for 30 Lives?
Oh, it's the Konami code. It's oh man, AB, or it's AB, left, right, up, down, down, start, select, start, or something like that. It's been a while, Dave.
Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. That's if you're playing with 2 players, naturally.
You can't.
And you
spring
think
that on
you're
me.
part of Gamergate?
Hey, man.
You make me sick. All right, so Gamergate. So what? We've talked about it a bunch on the show, and I think it's sort of like the phrase millennial. You say the phrase Gamergate. It means a lot to different people. Give me the 1-minute recap of what Gamergate is, and I want you to do it so that nobody gets angry at you.
Impossible request, but I will try.
Yes.
To me, Gamergate was an event happening in the gaming community where we found out a bunch of different things about collusion and corruption in the gaming industry, specifically the gaming press. And obviously, it's small potatoes when you look at the grand scheme of things. It seems like a very silly kind of thing to complain about. But the reality is that video games are the biggest entertainment industry of our time right now. It's bigger than films. It's bigger than music, though that's not saying much. But it's a tremendous industry, and when there's corruption going on in that industry, especially the form of media that's reporting on that industry.
Right.
It's important to take note of it.
Yeah, so in effect, it was basically proven that some of the video game companies were paying off the magazines that were supposed to review them, or they were putting ads in magazines that were reviewing them, so you'd get higher reviews. There was also all these accusations of sexism and homophobia.
Like if you didn't toe a line, you were a misogynist, you were a sexist. And suddenly, like, the people that we had been reading for like years at this point, we're saying like, hey, you fans who've been reading us forever, you're sexist, you're misogynist, probably racist. And it was just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
That was when I first decided, it's like, all right, I feel like saying something.
Yeah, so that's why when I heard about it, I didn't quite understand what it was. I actually did a video saying I don't really know what Gamergate is, but I want to know more. And what's cool about it is that it's such an example. I think it explains so much of what's going on right now, because it was an uprising from the people, the consumers that were like, yes, video gaming may not be the most important thing in the world, although a lot of them think it is the most important thing, but they were saying we are going to stop taking the bullshit from the media that's supposed to be reporting on the things that we love. And then the response by the gaming media was to turn on all of you guys and tell you how awful you were, but you had the power. It was kind of nuts.
It was definitely fun, because I don't think they were expecting any retaliation. I don't think they were expecting, I don't know how you wouldn't expect a group of people who spent their entire lives acclimating themselves to challenge, not like how you don't expect those people to retaliate.
Yeah. What do you make of how coordinated the assault on you guys was? Like that, the fact that basically a good portion, if not all of the mainstream gaming press, they all started coming out with the same articles about how evil all the gamers were.
The Gamers Are Dead articles is what those are called, if anybody wants to look those up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all came out in the same span of 24 hours, and it was just like, what is going on? It still blows my mind that it happened. But yeah, it was pretty coordinated, and it's a constant thing. It was going on in the mainstream media. It blew up. And I think a large reason as to why the term social justice warrior and why that kind of person is now outed and why people know that that kind of person exists is because of that controversy. I don't think the term or the idea of that person would have been normalized as much without Gamergate. I really don't think so.
All right, so the social justice stuff, because as I said before, that's sort of what has brought this big community that we're both sort of part of. We're not sort of part, we are part of it, right?
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not. It's brought us together, and there is this idea now that people are waking up to why it's wrong. So why do you think that the social justice people, who I say all the time, they have good intentions, many of them. There are regressive people that don't, that are often the leaders of the community. But that the social justice people, they have good intentions, but it seems to always go awry. Is that fair to say?
I think so, yeah. I think actually more of them have good intentions than I think even you would think. I think, because like, I don't think anybody thinks that they're doing a bad thing. You know, nobody goes out and says, I'm going to do a bad thing today. It's, you know, it's just this kind of circular logic that they have that convinces them that, hey, you know what's really liberal? Calling people racist.
Right.
Yeah.
Silencing everybody.
Yeah, silencing everybody.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But they do that. So how do we counter that?
I think
You've done it through comedy, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah. I've done it through comedy, through music. I think that helps a lot. That, I think, is actually a really huge thing because obviously music is catchy if you can make it that way. Everybody listens to it. If you can get it shared enough, that's a pretty, I think that's a pretty unique way of sharing that message. But I mean, all it takes, I think, is anybody who's thinking about these things is to come out and say something, just to make your voice heard in any capacity. You have the capability to do that now. You have the internet. YouTube doesn't charge you to put videos up. You can make your voice heard on this. And I think at some point it's going to be so many that you just can't ignore it.
Yeah. So is that ultimately the best way to fight back? Not only by making your voice heard, but by encouraging other people to get their voice heard. I mean, that's what I've said this almost every show now. I'm saying, if there were 100 other people doing exactly what I do, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Because we need this stuff amplified. I wish there were more of us.
Well, because you're having dialogues with people, and you're not like shutting them down. And that's the big thing, is to have dialogues with people who you might not agree with 100%, who you might even vehemently disagree with. But I think that might be the best method of fighting it, I think, would be to have those discussions.
Yeah. So as someone that you consider yourself liberal, you were part of the left, you were watching TYT when they were pretty much the only game in alternative media, whatever. That's got to be pretty painful as a young person to watch something that you respect, that you like, just kind of crumble in front of your face, right?
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I grew up in the internet era, so I'm used to things coming and going. But yeah,
is that something that's just inside you now? Like, because these sites just appear and everyone's on an app for 3 days and then it's gone?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, do people still use Periscope?
I think so.
I don't know. I wouldn't know, and I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I just used it once and it was gone. That's that. But so, yeah, I mean, seeing the Young Turks go that way was depressing, especially because, you know, I respected many of them. And to a degree, I still like many of them, although I don't know them personally. It was disappointing, but not surprising, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because this kind of thing happens all the time.
Yeah. How do you decide who to trust then? Because that's what I think the bigger issue is. You're just deciphering through the bullshit and finding some people in that. You know, I have alliances now, I think, with people that I disagree with on huge issues that I've had on this show. But I think our alliance is based in free speech. Our alliance is based on some sort of mutual respect, even if we disagree. Where I've lost a lot of friends on this regressive part because I see the way they lie about people all the time. And that, I think, is a bigger issue than whether we agree on everything or not. If you're going to blatantly lie about what someone says, that's a non-starter.
No, exactly. It shuts down conversation. If you default, especially because so many of these people default to these really powerful terms like racist and sexist and Islamophobe and all these terms, they default to those and they make those terms meaningless to the people who actually have to deal with the actual definitions of those things.
Right.
And I'm thinking like how illiberal, how like not liberal this is.
Yeah.
It's
cool being part of a movement though, isn't it? Like we all like sort of lined up together all over, you know, literally all over the world. We lined up on something, and it's like this whole YouTube week that I'm doing, most of the guests have something to do with this topic. You're the only one I'm getting to sit right across from, but like we all woke up around the same stuff. It's actually very cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting time to be on the internet. Definitely an interesting time to be a part of any kind of political discourse. Yeah, because this is a very divisive time. What
do you make about how the mainstream treats this whole idea? You've done some videos on MTV Decoded.
Yeah.
And the girl over there,
Francesca Ramsey.
Yeah. Now I've watched some of her videos, and basically she lays out why social justice is good, right? Is that fair to say? That's sort of the main thing that you took issue with?
Yeah. I mean, I criticize them sometimes. You know, I don't criticize the same people all the time, but they come up pretty frequently.
Right. So MTV back in the day was counterculture, was cool and edgy and whatever, and now it's the very entity teaching young people to kind of shut up about their opinions and follow the groupthink and all that. That's totally the reverse of 1986 MTV.
It's really strange to see that. I guess it's because the people who were growing up are now in charge. And I guess, you know, America in general has been definitely going more liberal, I would say, in the last probably a couple decades. So
liberal, you mean like socially liberal, like gay rights?
More accepting of like gay rights and all that stuff. And I think the people who grew up in that time are now obviously in charge of that, in charge of those companies, in charge of those studios. So I think what you're seeing is just that, pretty much. I'm not sure if it's like, oh, we'll collude with mainstream media, although I think that's definitely...
Right, like you're not saying it's like a board meeting with a bunch of guys smoking cigars.
I think they think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, but I think they think they're doing the right thing.
So when you've done videos like the one you did where you sort of took down Decoded and the nonsense that's in there, do you ever think like, man, I'm getting myself involved in something that's really big here? Like I don't feel like dealing with the blowback. I don't feel like if she now calls me out publicly dealing with her haters or that I don't want to be called a racist or a bigot or any of those other buzzwords.
I don't care. I think those words mean little to no. They have no punch.
Yeah.
They don't mean anything anymore because I think they've been overused to the point where it's just like, oh, a racist is anybody who disagrees with this sect of the population on a completely irrelevant topic.
Right.
So like I don't mind the blowback because I don't find my opinions to be controversial. They seem to be common sense. I think the real shame here is that I'm sitting here just because I have common sense.
Right.
Like, I'm not a genius.
Yeah.
I'm not smart. I don't have an immense amount of degrees. But just the fact that I exhibit some form of common sense is remarkable enough for me to sit here.
So just having critical thinking, I mean, that's what I talk about on the show all the time. Just to critically think of things and not immediately when someone says something you don't like, to assume the worst in them.
Yeah.
But it's hard to fight this back because those words do have meaning.
They do have power.
They have power, maybe not meaning to me.
Yeah. They definitely have power in society. I think at large. I think if you're accused of racism, you could get fired. I don't know. I'm sure that's happened. Mm-hmm. But to me personally, like this is my job. What, are you gonna fire me? No, you can't.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about the blowback. I'm not worried about labels. Just doesn't faze me at all.
Yeah. How do you think it happened that victim culture became so important? Because that's what it is.
Man.
It's that everyone is always trying to prove that they're the biggest victim. Thus, you're actually more morally right than someone else. And there, as I say, there's no end to that because someone is always then going to try to put them above you on that oppression scale.
I have a few theories on that. I don't know how well thought out they are.
Well, this is the place to throw them out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in a time that's so not fraught with actual conflict outside of like, you know, the Middle East and all that. But like, as a millennial growing up, I can tell you life was not difficult. Life was never, oh, hey, Chris, we're not going to eat tonight. You know, it was never a big deal. Like nothing was ever bad, nothing was ever really tremendously awful. And I think growing up in that environment makes very, very small things seem much more problematic than they actually are. Like, oh, hey, you make like some joke that's like mildly offensive and suddenly it's the end of the world because, hey, you don't know what it's like to be in an actual oppressive situation.
Right.
So I think that might be part of it.
So basically, to use some of their terms, the privilege of growing up in just a functioning society. As you said, your family didn't have a ton of money, but you weren't starving. But your broader point is that you didn't grow up in a war zone or under some hugely oppressive regime or something like that.
Yeah, well,
so that the little things of, oh, we said this word to describe a woman or this adjective to describe a trans person become this massive thing because you're not dealing with real problems.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, the biggest thing that's happened recently is obviously the gay rights movement and how they've gotten the right to marry. And that was the biggest thing. In like the 60s, you had like racial conflicts. In like the 50s, you had like McCarthyism. You had all this crazy shit going on. But now it's, in the last couple of years, it's been relatively lax. You know, there's not much that I can think of that I had a problem with or that any of my friends had a problem with. And we grew up in like Yonkers and it wasn't exactly like, you know, high real estate.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you say then when people would say, well, look at Black Lives Matter right now or something else that's happening right now or the trans bathroom issue or some of this stuff? You think that's just an outlier in a weird way of a healthy society?
I think it's a caricature of an actual struggle, is what I think. I think I mean, I know this is probably a controversial stance, but I think Black Lives Matter is largely just kind of. I think it's an Occupy Wall Street too. It's like this. Hey, there's this movement that has some decent ideas that's just been hijacked by whiny. You know about wasn't there like a head of Black Lives Matter who like pretended to be run over by a car? Did you see that video?
I don't think I saw that video, but nothing would surprise me at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
or they're protesting gay pride parades in Toronto until the gays of Toronto sign their document, basically elevating Black Lives Matter status above the gay oppression.
Exactly.
Like that's legitimately insane, and it goes to the heart of all of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. I think. I think it's largely just like people wanting to feel like they're a part of something. So hey, this is a cause, I guess. I'll jump into that.
Yeah.
And feel like I'm an activist.
I'm curious, have you had friends that really buy into this stuff, like that really want to prove that they're the ultimate victim? Because it's hard to maintain friendships under that, guys.
Yeah, I don't think I know anybody like that who's overtly like that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
There could be, but I really doubt it. I haven't noticed anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so we met once for coffee before. This is only the second time we've ever done the in-person thing. But when we met, you said to me that you're a liberal and you've always been a liberal, sort of what you've laid out here. Mm-hmm. But you kind of hesitated to say you were part of the left. And do you does that exist to you anymore? I mean, I know that this left-right thing barely makes any sense anymore, and everybody's sort of all over the place at the moment. But does it have any meaning to you? Like, you're on the left. Like, what does that mean?
The left, to me, means, I guess, just politically democratic, I guess? That would have to be what it means, right? I can't think of anything else that it would mean.
I'm asking you.
Obviously, the right would be more politically Republican, but I think that matters the least. I think what matters most is how you fall in the vertical axes, whether you're authoritarian or you're a libertarian member of either of these two sides. Because obviously there's the authoritarian right, there's the authoritarian left, and what I see in the left is the left becoming primarily the authoritarian left. That's what I see.
Yeah, that wing of it has just grown to the point that I think what they're doing is taking decent liberals and they're making defending liberal values is becoming a conservative principle. That none of us want to hear that. I mean,
but it is. But because I will go on and defend really, really harmless actions. Like, oh, this person used a word that triggered somebody. It's like, it's just a word. Don't sweat it. Alt-right.
Alt-right. Yeah.
Welcome to the alt-right. You're the alt-right.
Yeah. Oh, that's what they'll say about you. Now you're a member of the alt-right.
Alt-right. They'll just be like, oh, you're a conservative then. It's
right.
Like, what? No, what?
Yeah. You're defending white supremacists because you use the wrong pronoun to a trans person.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, you criticize the feminist movement? Oh, you must hate women.
Yeah. So you've done some stuff on feminists, and we've talked about it a lot here.
Yeah.
What's your take on how? Do you ever feel like for you to talk about this stuff? So you talked about Black Lives Matter. We could talk about Islam a little bit. We could talk about feminism. All of these things. You are a heterosexual white man.
Yeah, I'm a straight white male.
So you're the most hated of all of these things. Do you ever think, or I guess you don't because you just said you don't care what they think, but do you ever think you're putting yourself in a really precarious position to be think because they're going to judge you by the group and not the character.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think we're headed in the right direction. I like to think we're changing for the better, although it might not be too evident right now. But I think, I know that what I'm saying isn't controversial. Like, I know that. I know that what I'm saying is basic common sense. Criticizing feminism is not criticizing women. A movement is a movement, and how that movement acts it's irrelevant what the skin color or the genders of the characters are. I know that that's not a controversial stance. So if people hate me for it, they can hate me. It makes no difference to me.
Yeah. So when you criticize feminism, as you said, you're not criticizing women. You're criticizing a movement that you feel has started to defend the wrong principles. I think a very simple example of that would be the attacks in Cologne in Germany on New Year's, where because it was migrants, so thus meaning Muslims, that did most of the attacks. That's what the truth of the situation was. And we saw people on the left screaming about the Crusades and all the usual histrionics and nonsensical arguments. But so it was the left that was throwing their mothers and sisters and daughters under the bus because they consider Muslims more oppressed than women.
Yeah.
And that would be your critique of feminism.
I mean, my critique of feminism doesn't lie with the definition, because a lot of people will say, like, oh, just look at the dictionary definition of it. It means to defend the equality of women. And it's like, that could be the definition all you want. What matters is the movement and practice. And I say this all the time with ideologies in particular, or movements specifically. The definition of an ideology or the definition of a movement matters very little, because those ideologies are inherently evolving things. Like how I always like to put it was, feminism is an ideology born of activism. Because like the women's rights movement was an activist cause. They had goals. They had policies that they wanted enacted. And when those policies got enacted and when they achieved their goals, the women's rights movement stops, because that's what a movement does. It goes somewhere and then stops because it's achieved all its goals, or the opposite, maybe it doesn't. The problem when you make an ideology out of that is that even when you achieve your goals, you haven't achieved your goals. So you have to make stuff up.
Right.
You have to make, women still aren't getting paid equally, even though it's clear that that's not the case.
That for the same work they do actually get paid the
for
same.
decades we've known this.
Yeah, that women choose different jobs. That might cause difference in
even something as simple as the Equal Pay Act that they have to know exists. But they're like, no. It's still there's still a disparity here, and it's all because men get paid less, or women get paid less for the same job, which is just not true. It's just false.
So there's just no end, right? Like is that inherently the problem with all of these things? Is that the end, if you accomplish what you want to accomplish, as you just said, you now have to find something new, because otherwise you have to get a new line of work.
Exactly. Because a lot of people now are professional, like they do activism full time. This is their main purpose, is to be the spearhead of whatever movement they're spearheading. Right. So if you don't have that to fall back on, what are you going to do? Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there any movement that evolved properly or correctly or attained its goals and then saw its main leaders and everything else like really go out and do something else or move on or whatever? I don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah. I can't think of one. Yeah. There might be. I don't know.
So that's
a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah. So that's the inherent danger, I guess. It's like you need to get something done, and then at the same time you can't give up.
No, it's your bread and butter. Yeah. And just specifically with feminism, like all these. Like everything's misogynistic now. Like everything under the sun. Video games are misogynistic. Brilliant.
Right.
Great. I'm really glad we're having this discussion.
Right. But so I assume, as a misogynist, that you are, when you play Grand Theft Auto, you only punch women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course. My God, that news report was amazing.
Which one was that?
There was a news report that I think ABC did during the whole Gamergate controversy, where they were like, hey,
Yeah.
You can beat up a woman in this game. It's like, well, you could beat up everybody in that game. It's
right. You can
entirely. It's the most feminist video game you can imagine. It's entirely egalitarian.
Right. In a weird way, if you were playing that game and you were only beating up men, what would that prove? You know what I mean? Like
nothing. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You kill droves of men in that game. And those are men that you have to kill to progress, and not a peep.
Right.
Not a peep.
So you're saying that you don't think video games cause violence?
I do not.
Yeah.
I do think they desensitize you to violence. I think you can handle being exposed to violence a lot more than somebody who maybe doesn't play violent video games, but I don't think it.
But doesn't everything do that? I mean, you could watch The Purge, or you could watch Saw, or anything
I think
else.
It does that too. Yeah. I think most things that are violent desensitize you to violence. I don't think that necessarily means you're going to go out and kill a bunch of people because of it. If you're going to go out and kill a bunch of people for no reason, you're as an individual, you're kind of not right.
Yeah. So is that the bigger issue? Is that we never talk about mental health, really? So we're always looking to go, it's video games, it's guns. It's this, it's that, it's our dialogue, it's our, whatever.
Yeah.
When really we have massive mental health issues, and we just keep looking at these symptoms that are popping up.
Yeah.
And not the root.
We keep looking at the things that these people do in their free time, and not like their own kind of, like bullying is a huge problem there too, right? Because most of like the Columbine kids and pretty much every school shooter you can name is like always like this outcast, bullied kind of kid. But then they point to his video games. It's like, of course he's playing video. What else is he gonna do? Right. He's gonna go out with his buds?
Right.
Of course he's playing video games. What else is he gonna do, man?
Yeah. So what do you do about that then? If the bullying culture is real. Now I would look, when I was a kid, I was right in the middle. I was like not the most popular, and I was not the biggest nerd. I was like right there. And I remember thinking it was going to be work to be with the cool kids. So I ended up hanging out with the nerds more, and we played video games and toys and whatever we did. And I had a great childhood. But I remember I was bullied by the more popular kids, and I bullied kids that were less than me. It's just life.
Yeah.
No, so you can't make kids not do this. Right?
No. I mean, I think in cases where like the kids become school shooters, I think you might maybe people should be more open to therapy. Maybe there's something that needs to be done. I don't know what needs to be done, but it's definitely not banning video games. It's definitely not censoring opinions. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm getting worked up.
You are getting worked up. But what would you do about just the idea of bullying? Because now you see all these anti-bullying campaigns. I also love now every celebrity, you see them on every talk show, and they're like, I was bullied as a kid, and I was bullied as a kid.
So is I.
And it's like big goddamn deal. It's called growing up. If you were never bullied, you're going to enter a real world one day, and the real world's going to shit all over you.
I am a 5'4" adult male.
Yeah.
And I've always been that.
You were smaller than I thought.
Yeah. I've always been short. I've always been a Ben Shapiro, and you get bullied, and honestly, I'm thankful for that. Yeah. Honestly, in a weird way, I know. But
but can you explain that? Because I do see legitimacy in that.
I'm genuinely thankful for like experiencing that, because it's like, again, a first world life in the 1990s and the early 2000s is really cozy, and it helps to have that bit of character building. Because if I wasn't bullied, I don't think I'd be so outspoken about this particular thing, because I don't think I would have gained confidence otherwise. All
right, so let's do a little election stuff here, because we're talking about sort of issues in the big sense, free speech, feminism, Islamophobia. Or you want to hit Islamophobia first? Because you've been pretty critical of the people that throw that that meme out there.
I think Islam is the most thing that I get backlash for. That's definitely the biggest thing, because for some reason it's still super protected. Well, like, again, I'm an atheist. I criticize pretty much everything. Everything that isn't, every religion that's under the sun to me is obviously false.
So to be fair, would you here Old Testament? What do you think of it? One word.
One word. Fake.
Okay. New Testament.
False.
Quran.
That's okay.
That was very clever, but that's not going to save you. Yeah, so you get extra hate for that because it seems to be on the top of the Oppression Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with all the stuff that's happened to Sam Harris too, just in the last year or so.
Yeah,
it's been crazy.
But is that one of the examples, the Sam thing? I now use it as a good example of what good can come from bad actions because so many of us woke up.
Yeah, no.
Related to that it's like, oh, by doing something so patently, obviously dishonest and the smear campaign against him, you got a gajillion people to wake up and now do the videos that you do what I do what plenty of other people that we're going to have on YouTube Week are doing.
No, it was definitely a blessing in a weird way to describe it. I know that's...
he probably wouldn't appreciate that.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
But it was definitely like one of those things where it's like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But it definitely had a good ripple effect, I think.
Yeah. So when you criticize Islam, you're criticizing an idea, much like you said before, you're criticizing feminism doesn't mean you're criticizing all women. But people just can't seem to wrap their heads around that, huh?
Yeah, it's difficult for people to understand for whatever reason. To me, it's pretty straightforward. It's like, hey, cancer's bad. Oh, you hate cancer patients? Good. It seems relatively obvious to anybody, I think, with even a modicum of common sense, that what you're criticizing is the ideas that people employ, not necessarily the people who believe these things in any given capacity. Obviously, the extremists are people that I don't have a problem criticizing.
Yeah. But, I've gotten a little pushback on that lately where because I've made that distinction over and over and over again. And I know the people who are going to hate me for it hate me no matter what. But I think some smart people and people that I think are with decent intentions actually will say to me, you can't keep separating the ideology from the believer. Even if the believer isn't going out and beheading someone or shooting someone or throwing gay off a crane or something, that you still have to criticize the people. Do you think that there's some legitimacy to that? Not meaning they have to criticize every Muslim person, obviously, the same way you wouldn't criticize every Christian person.
I think there's validity to it. I mean, obviously, you have to criticize. I think it comes down to criticizing individuals. Like, what's his name? Reza?
Yeah.
You criticize, that's a person that you can criticize.
Yeah.
Because he's a person with a specific set of beliefs that you know that those are his beliefs.
Yeah.
It's not just a generalization. I think the thing to avoid is generalizations.
Right. Right. I never criticize Reza because he's a Muslim. I criticize him because he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Those are very distinct. I criticize him because he's a liar. I mean, that's why I criticize him, not because I don't care what his religion is. You do whatever they want in your own home.
Yeah, it's a shame that that will get you branded an Islamophobe.
Yeah. All right. Enough about that. Let's do a little election stuff before we wrap up here. Because all of this is wrapped around in now what's happening. We could talk about the Gamergate stuff, the free speech stuff. All this stuff has led us to this bonkers election that we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
I think it's hysterical. I think it's going to give me a lot of material. That's what I think when I look.
So bad for the country, good for you personally.
Man, I don't know. Because to me, it seems that there's a very heavy behind-the-scenes kind of thing when you're talking about the presidency. Like, I'm one of those people who believes, like, if Donald Trump gets elected, I don't know if it's going to be terrible, because I still feel like there's a bunch of people behind the president who are working in tandem with or without him to make policies and to do the basic presidential stuff. So to me, I'm not even sure if it really matters which one wins.
So how do you, as a liberal, this is what I've struggled with now, as a liberal, when you talk about all the social justice stuff, Trump is hitting some of the things that we care about most.
Yeah.
He's calling out the social justice bullshit. He's talking about free speech and the overuse of racism and bigotry and all that stuff. So he's hitting some of the most important things. But I know he's not a real liberal. So it would make me hard to support him. And at the same time, I think Hillary's pretty crappy.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you going Gary Johnson?
If I vote, I will definitely vote a third party. I'm not putting a vote for Hillary. Not putting a vote for Trump. Not even, mainly because I just think Hillary's a corrupt, crooked individual, and Trump just, it doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. To me, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So I don't feel comfortable putting my vote in, because a lot of people say like, oh hey, you know, if you don't vote, can't complain. And to me, it's like that it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make it, that's like if a boss hired a garbage employee and said, hey, you can't complain because you didn't hire him. I can complain way more than you can.
I mean, I would always prefer that everyone vote, but George Carlin did a pretty great bit on why not voting gives him the right to
It's
complain.
a brilliant bit, and it's true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The whole election this time is definitely like a wake-up call. Like, because this is hilarious.
Right.
It's hilarious to watch.
Do you like seeing all the internet stuff get bubbled into the election? Like, as someone that was in it early with the game, you know, Pepe, the Frog, and Top Keck, and blah, blah, blah. You like seeing all that stuff get up there. Like, it's hard to believe. That's what, when I saw the Hillary thing and mentioning Breitbart and referencing Milo articles, I was like, God, you idiot. You just gave them exactly what they wanted. You know?
Top Keck indeed.
Yeah, Top Keck indeed.
It's amazing to see that, especially during that speech when it was just yelled out, like, what this whole thing is, it's turned into an internet chat room.
Right, we're half between like Idiocracy and Punked. That's where we live right now.
I would say so. Definitely closer to Idiocracy.
Definitely closer to, who knew that it was going to be a documentary?
I didn't. I'll tell you that.
All right, final question for you. What does the future hold for Chris Raygun?
Oh man, I mean, hopefully I get to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't like to stay the same for too long. I like to mix things up a little bit. I like to experiment with different formats and different subjects. Yeah. So hopefully this social justice train doesn't last too long. Because you know you can get jaded from this kind of thing really easy.
How do you not? How do you not actually? Because it's exhausting when you're fighting people with bad intentions who you know are going to lie about you
with the same arguments. Because it's like they never have a different argument. It's always the same thing.
Yeah. So how do you not get jaded within all that?
It helps to just kind of. For me personally, this isn't advice that I can really give to anybody else. But for me, it helps to just do something really weird in the meantime. Like just to make something that doesn't make any sense. Like I have a second channel that I just put garbage on, and that helps. Like, okay, I've made something that isn't about this. Right. But I still love talking about it, and as long as I like talking about it, and as long as I have something to say about it, I'll keep saying what I need to say. Yeah. All right, man. We did it live. No jump cuts. We did it live. We did it live. Fuck it, we're doing it live. Classic. Yeah, we did it, and you feel all right? No jump cuts. It was just a human conversation. Yeah, no, you weren't staring into a screen. All good? Yeah, no, perfect, I would say. All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank Chris Raygun for joining me today, and you can check out his YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/Chris Raygun. We got to get that fixed. Yeah. That's embarrassing. I mean, I can't bring you on as a YouTuber. You got a /C in there. Hey man, that's how you distinguish the professionals.